Okay, people. So today I'm joined by Jake C. Young, who wrote, directed, he stars in Soul's Chapel. Jake, welcome to the podcast, man. How's everything going?
Hey man, thanks for having me. Everything's going great. Super excited to be here with you.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, you've got a new film. It- I forget. Has it dropped yet, or is it just about to drop?
So it actually just came out. It actually just dropped on streaming. I think we're live on Amazon Prime, Fandango at home, a lot of other various streaming sites, and I believe we're hitting, like a lot of the free streaming, like Tubi and other various ones. I think we're hitting that this coming month. So
Ah, cool.
been a very exciting month for us over here.
Nice. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Like, how's that feel after working hard on a project for it to finally, get out there?
Yeah, so that's honestly, by the time that these things release, you've almost forgotten about them, like to an
Yeah.
extent, because you've been working on it, and then I'm this project. I finished it up last year. We started shooting in February of the year before. So by the time this actually
Right.
dropped,
Right.
it was it's been a while, but
Mm.
man, I mean, there's been so many people that's been involved in this. Just really cool people who have really taken the time and put a lot of effort into this. The cast, I mean, the crew of all this. I mean, so for people to finally get to see this flick, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty exciting feeling, not just for me, but for the whole crew that's involved.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think that's the thing, right? Because you spend a lot, and I think it's the thing with indie films for the most part, right? You spend so much time putting it all together, right? Because sometimes it can't be the main gig, right? You're doing other things, around it. Everyone's trying to fit it in, so it's taking longer than if you were working for a big studio. And then it's just the post production, then finding distribution, and just all of these things. So it can take a minute for it to actually get out there. And you know what I mean? Like people have been hearing that you've been making a film, but it's still not out, and everyone's looking at you like, "Yo, is my man Gugu?" You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, everybody'd be like, "So when can I see this?" I'm like, "Well, as soon as it comes out, you know." I mean, and you know how it is. I mean, those guys that, control the whole thing with your distro, they choose when that stuff comes out, they curate the releases, but man, it's been so long on waiting for it to come out, but yeah, definitely excited that it's dropping. I'm definitely excited to see it finally picking up a little bit of traction. Seeing a few people who are indie filmmakers kind of hopping on board and wanting to check it out. Especially people who kind of like that indie horror genre, and for that matter, even this one with kind of a dab of Western genre in there too. So I mean, this one's definitely been it's been a different project, and I think that's kind of what I really tried to do with this film was kind of breathe some new and different light into a genre that I feel is becoming very repetitive.
mm.
Especially in the horror genre. So it
Oh,
up a little bit, but that's what we do.
yeah, yeah. It reminded me of a few different things watching it. Like, I know, like Vin Diesel had the Witch Hunter film, right? So there's kind of elements of that it kind of reminded me of, and like Hansel and Gretel, witch hunters, and there was a book series by Brandon Sanderson, Mistborn, and it's like because it's this fantasy world but with some kind of cyberpunk kind of ish thrown in, and because that's the kind of thing, it's not just like in the 1800s or something like that. You've brought in these other kind of different elements with the guns and that kind of thing, so it's slightly different. And so yeah, I just thought of all of these different kind of things when watching this. Like,
Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely kind of a mix of genre, you know. It's like you kind of put everything in one bag and shook it up and was like,
mm,
"Hey, here's a flick." So
yeah, what was the birthing of this project? Because I believe it's like there's a folklore element to it, right?
yeah, man. So there's actually here where I live, there is actually a place that is it's based on a real place that was called Souls Chapel. It was a real church that was standing out in the midst of Kentucky, and it kind of got a big reputation for some of the lore and some of just the crazy things that happened there and some of the weird practices, and we kind of followed suit to that in the film. You know, just about, you know, like a corrupt reverend, and you know, just a few like just crazy things like a different like these entities that are supposed to be, and it just kind of developed from folklore. And you know, it has a huge folklore, and it's actually probably one of the most popular tourist attractions around. But you know, it's actually it's based in my hometown, so you know, it kind of played into that a little bit, and you know, we kind of added to it, and you know, just kind of adding those different elements, but basing it around some true inspired events. You know, that made it pretty cool to do something, you know, about that folklore style horror element, especially if you like that kind of thing. You know, I know a lot of people like that older folk style of storytelling, which I do. I mean, I
Mm,
grew up hearing, you know, just like these creepy things about this
mm.
film, and everybody's like, "Oh, what the hell is going on?" You know, and it was just always, you know, just this huge lore. So being able to kind of wrap up with that and do that kind of brought a new life into it. As had originally done it, I was actually at a convention where I was a guest, and it was actually, oddly enough, it was in this old west town, and they done like a horror zombie old west thing, and it was a lot of fun. You know, I got to go, and as I was walking through there, I just started seeing this whole thing kind of unravel in my head, and I was like, man, this would make a cool flick. And you know, as me and my writer, as we began developing it, you know, just it started developing more and more, and then we were able to use the lore from the actual Souls Chapel.
Ah, okay. So, like, originally, were you thinking of just making it, you know what I mean, set in the normal past? Like it was be a straight kind of conversion rather than the other elements that you added after seeing like this kind of hybrid convention.
Well, so originally, we kind of wanted to set it like on the. I remember writing and originally on the verge of the end of the Western genre. So like early 1900s. That's kind of what we were thinking when we originally started crafting it. And as I began crafting it, I was like, you know, I wanted to do a Western. I mean, you know,
Mm.
I wanted to do a real type of Western-esque feel to a film, and you know, just kind of play into those elements, but I didn't really have anything, and I was like, you know, but there's one thing that does kind of stick out, and I was like, you know, the steampunk genre is like it's really cool because you get like kind of the sci-fi element in there, and we were able to kind of almost establish our own universe per se in this project.
Mm.
We never really tell what time period it's in. You know, maybe it's in an alternate reality, maybe it's post-apocalyptic. But the fact that we didn't mention that in the film just kind of gave off like this whole nother vibe to the film. And you know, I think it opens up a lot of doors of opportunity for you know, future potential projects that you know could even come of that. It's just you know, those type of elements, you know, like the steampunk and you know the western and the horror, they just blended so well that I didn't really see the need to stick to the conventional traditional 1800s. So we kind of were able to like I said, you know, keep that idea of the western, but also just throw a little dash of spice on there to kind of keep people reeled in, kind of keep their interest pulled in there.
Yeah, I think, you know what I mean, doing that, it gives you the freedom to kind of really be fully expressive. You know what I mean? Because you can get stymied by like, oh, we've got to be in this time period. So then it's just like, okay, so then we've got to find things that match that period. Because if
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
that doesn't, then we'll throw the person out of the film. You know what I mean? Like you see when people
Yeah.
watching things like Game of Thrones and they're like, "Oh, we saw someone wearing jeans underneath their costume." You know what I mean? And it's just
Yeah.
like all of these kind of things. So it's just like by creating a different kind of universe, now you're free because it can be whatever the fuck you want it to be.
Absolutely. And especially when you're indie and you kind of operating on a little bit of a lower budget.
Mm,
That's what I tell everybody. Like, never let your budget limit your creativity because, like you just said, if we're sticking to one specific time period, it's really hard to get everything pinpointed accurate, especially, in the locations, and the costuming. And, even if there's like you say, there's a weaponry or something that's not been invented at a certain time, sticking to that can be kind of tough on an indie budget.
yeah.
But being able to open up your own sort of universe and just kind of make it how you want it, like you said, it really frees you up to do a lot creatively.
Mm, yeah. So with all of this, you know what I mean? Once you got the idea, how long did it take to craft the actual story? What was that process like?
The actual story, it actually didn't take as long as you would think. We originally I wrote the treatment, and then I ran it by the gentleman who was helping me write and help produce it. And he touched it up a little bit, and he was like, let's do that. But I created the original story. It only took me about once we started writing, it only took me about a month to get the full crafted story, and then we kind of fleshed it out a little bit. Originally, we had a few different working titles for it when it was still originally just a western, and it just kind of started flowing. But ironically, what a lot of people didn't realize, we have Brian Bremer from Pumpkinhead in this, and he makes a little cameo in there, all creatured and everything. But he was really cool to work with. But I remember, I met Brian originally at a convention, and I was speaking with him, and we were talking about his movies he's done, like Dead Birds, and different things like that. And I presented him this script, and he replies back, and he says, "Jake, I noticed that the script is it's only like 47 pages." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." So that's what we're doing. And anyways, we ended up doing it. But like I said, even though it was a short script, I feel that some of the action that takes place in this film, it kind of carried over that because 46 pages for a full feature length script can be kind of intimidating, make you feel like, oh man, I don't have enough here. But we definitely had more than enough to work with. In fact, we had to throw some stuff out. But I mean, yeah, you never really can tell. And when you get in like those writing frenzies, it just kind of hits you, and you just kind of got
Mm,
to roll with it. And once it just starts, you get about the first page, you get what I call the writing fever. Then you get to the middle page, and then you take a break from there, and then it all just starts rolling in together, and you just kind of see it playing out. So it really didn't take that long to craft the original story.
aha. Okay. Like once it was all written, like what did you think might be the biggest like the most difficult kind of element to kind of bring to life?
So the most difficult part for me was going to be getting a location to do this. I was like where do you find an old creepy church that somebody's just going to let you come in and shoot, and you're like, hey, I got this schedule, here's this. So we looked for about 3 to 5 months on location, trying to find a good place to do this because obviously we couldn't go to the real place. One, I'm sure as hell not going out there. And two, two, we can't go because the actual church itself has been burned down. The graveyard and the cemetery is still there. The grounds where it stood, it's all still there. But the actual building, it was burned down. So we had to find a location. So that was probably the most difficult part. So we get looking, and I finally find this place. I talked to these individuals. They had this old timey barn, that they were going to let us use. It was good and insulated, big venue. We're going to use it, and then about a week before we're set to roll on cameras and start principal photography, I get a phone call, and I think everybody knows where this is going.
Mm,
I get the phone call, and they say, "Hey, Jake, I'm sorry, but we can't let you use this place because we're getting ready to do some remodeling. And I was like, what?
Jesus.
They're like, yeah, we're doing remodeling, and I forgot about it. And you're like, and I'm like, we're scheduled to start shooting in like 3 days. So I was like, what? You realize that? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, oh man. Sitting there, I'm just freaking out. I'm like, what the hell are we gonna do? We've got all these people coming in, from all over, because all the actors,
Mm.
everybody comes in from like some of them different states, some of them different places. I've got everybody coming in. I got this whole script, and we can't change days because a lot of the other actors are booked out on other projects. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? So my friend Dave, who helped produce this and done a lot of the set decoration, he comes over and he's like, well, he's like, I guess we're just gonna have to build one. I'm like, what? Well, hang on. I said, what the hell do you mean we're going to build one? So I kid you not, in 3 days, 15 hours, we built the set that you see in Soul's Chapel in my garage.
Yo.
We built it in my garage. The whole thing that you see, it is built inside of my garage.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it wasn't even a full 3 days. Like I said, it was 15 hours, because everybody else has other things going on.
Mm.
So, and it was me and him, and we just kind of went in there, and I to this day, I still don't know how in the world we pulled that off. I mean, we did it, and we built it in my garage, and we shot there, and we shot the whole film in about 6 days.
Whew,
Yeah,
boy.
yeah. It was an exciting time. Yeah, it was an exciting time to be alive, man, for sure. We built it, and there's we everything you see in the film is built, inside the garage there, even in like some of the other locations, like in one instance, everything that takes place inside that church, even the outside, what we have of the graveyard and the fence. I mean, all that was done in my backyard. I mean, so it was like, and I was like, man, here I am. I've been doing this for 10 years. I thought I was out of the backyard movie phase, but you never really are. So I learned to take that lesson down with me. But one thing that I can say is having good people to help you out and people that believe in you, and you surround yourself like that with those individuals. It does pay off, and everyone who contributed to being a part of this, I really think it helped pull it off. And now that you've probably heard me say that, you're gonna go back and be looking. You're like, I'm gonna be looking for his garage. I'm gonna be looking for his stuff. What is that? I see something there now, but no, everybody would be going back looking for it. But if I hadn't told you, most people when I tell them, that I built that in my garage, for instance, at the premiere, we premiered it at the Black Mountain Film Festival. I had a gentleman come up to me and he's like, "Where did you shoot this at?" He said, "That looks amazing." I was like, "Well, funny story. Let me tell you." So yeah, like I said, never let the budget limit your creativity.
Mm. Was there any point during those, few days that you just thought, we ain't gonna be able to do this?
Oh, all of them. Every one of them. I was like, "Oh shit, man, what am I gonna do?" I was like, this just isn't gonna work." But we pulled together and we did, and maybe it's a curse of the Soul's Chapel curse of some sort or something. But the last day that we were shooting, we had probably one of the worst freak storms that had ever hit our region in probably the last 10 years. So we get this storm. It snows probably about 2 feet. Snows 2 feet. Next day, it all rains, and it rained, and all that snow melted, and there was so much water that was standing in all of our county. We had, there was flash flood warnings. Our set flooded.
Oh,
So the last day that we're shooting, that you see, in the big climax scene, what you actually see is we're running around filming, and there's water up to our ankles. And we're filming in the middle of this, and the actors are standing there, and I'm like, if we don't get this done now, it's not
oh.
going to happen. And I was ready to just throw my hands up, and I was ready to just be like, man, I can't do this. And luckily, everybody kind of banded together and was like, hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to get this done. I was ready to just call it quits, and I was like, you know what, everybody come back a different day. And I'm glad I didn't, because it was just one series of events after the other.
Hmm.
But luckily everybody kind of banded together and said, "Hey, we got to get this done." And everybody pulled together, the cast, the crew, all the set managers, anybody who was helping, everybody kind of banded through. And that'll be one time I will say, as a director, they kind of pulled me through that. So, I definitely got to give a huge shout out to them, because I mean, that was just that was a scary time to be there, man.
I can imagine, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So I mean, but now looking back, it's kind of funny the way that those things work out. But it all worked out, and I think that everybody who watches this film can see that we put a lot of effort into this for a little indie project. So I
mm.
was pretty pleased with the way it turned out.
Well, at least right, that you can kind of get over any hurdle that comes your way. You know what I mean?
Well, I know. I don't know if I can get over them, but I can go through them. That's for sure. If we don't get over them, we'll go through them one way or another. So that's kind of what I've imagined, and I've been working on another project, and I've learned that no project ever comes without its hurdles. I mean, everything can
Mm.
be going smooth, and I mean, you can just, when that starts happening, that's when you better start worrying, because if something ever just goes completely smooth, then you're probably doing something wrong.
I know that's the thing, right? Like
Yeah.
nothing, you can plan just everything, right? All the
Oh,
minutiae you can,
absolutely.
what I
Down
mean?
to the T, man.
Yeah, but something will go wrong. It just
Absolutely.
always goes wrong. But it's like, I think planning helps, right? Because then you understand everything that you need.
Oh
So
yeah.
then the things that you can kind of circumvent, the things that you can kind of move around, you now know all of that because you've really been in the trenches with it. So it's just like you're able to then find a way to kind of, still achieve your goal.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing. That's just kind of believing and not giving up is a huge factor of that, because I
Mm,
mean, just giving up. I mean, man, I mean, at the end of the day, there's been so many people I've seen come and start in this business. They'll start off really hot, but then they quit. But
yeah.
man, when you can finish that project, that really that gives you a sense of accomplishment to know if you can complete one, you can complete another. And I think that's a really admirable quality. So, that's what I tell anybody that ever wants to try to filmmaking. I mean, hey, just do it. Whether it's good or bad at the end, get through it and do it. I mean, I'm not saying don't do your best, but just do it. Sometimes
Mm.
just doing it can have a huge impact on not only yourself, but just, your work and how others will perceive you too. It was that, and that's kind of one of these things, just stuff just goes wrong, man. I mean, that's just such as life. I've never found anything that don't go wrong. In fact, I've been working on this other project that we wrap on here in just a couple of weeks. We'll be wrapping up. But the last shoot, I was telling my camera guys, we were going back reviewing footage, and I was like, man, in all honesty, there's really no reason that this movie should look this good. And I was like, other than I think it's just, somebody watching out for us. Because there's no reason this movie should look this good. I said, with all the hell we've went through and everything that's happened, I was like, I don't know. There's got to be somebody watching out for us or something. I was like, that's the only thing I could come up with. I was like, because there's no way this should look as good as it does. And then one of them said, he's like, yeah. Then he said, I thought you were going to say, maybe it was because of, your talented crew and hard work, but I'll take that too. So I was like, well, but you got to take what you can get sometimes. So, but no, they've all been really grand, and you get a good crew, and that does help a lot. That helps make your operations and everything you do just run way smoother.
Oh, most definitely. That I think that's the big thing, man. It's just like when everyone's working in unison, right? No
Mhm.
one's just trying to be like, it's all about me, I'm the superstar,
Yeah,
right? There's, I
absolutely.
think, gosh, it was, I forget the year. It was recent in recent years. I think it was the first. Well, yeah, obviously it was the first time they won it. Golden State Warriors. That team that finally won.
Yeah.
There was no technically there was no big standout star on that team. No one thought they were gonna fucking do it at the beginning of the
Yeah.
season. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I bet even if you said to them, did you think you would get here? They'd be like, no.
No.
It took being
No.
completely honest. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like you can have
absolutely.
aspirations, you can have hope, you can think, I'd like to do this at one point, but I don't think anyone envisioned them doing it that year. And it's just like, because they worked hard. You know what I mean? That's the big thing. It's just
Oh yeah,
working hard, working together, supporting your team.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then it's just like when it looks bleak, you're just like, fuck it, let's just push through.
Yeah, yeah, just fuck it, just do it. That's sometimes
Mm,
that's what you got to say, just the hell with it, just push through and just keep going because I mean that's just that's going to separate you probably apart from most of the world. I tell a lot of people this every day. It's a lot of people say a lot of things and have a lot of dreams, but that's the big difference between people that are actually trying. And whether you get there in 2 years or 10 years, the fact that you're trying it every day, you press a little further to get there. So, I mean, that's definitely you gotta take your wins when they come.
mm. But I think it's that perseverance with things, right? Because you have people that they might be savants, right? They might be crazy talented,
Yeah,
but because they are, they don't put work in.
yeah.
Because they think, oh, it's easy. It'll just come to me. I'll be able to do it.
Listen, I'll tell you every time, man, that old saying, like, hard work beats talent any day of the week, because I've met some of the most talented people in the world, but if you can't put the work in to do it, I
Mm,
mean, it'll never happen. I mean, so, you could be the most, talented person, most talented actors, talented directors, talented filmmakers, but if they don't put the work in to make it happen, or they don't complete that feature, they just stay on, doing a short for the last 10 years and they don't just push to do something, someone else will beat you to it.
yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just life. But as long as you stay true to yourself and you do what you truly want to do in this, crazy thing we call life, I think that sometimes that is all the reason you need to keep going. Is just because whether you prove anything to anyone else, sometimes you just got to prove it to yourself, saying, "Hey, I can do this." And I think that's what separates a lot of people who push forward and make good stuff or good content or good football teams, as people just do it, and whether you win or lose, who cares, you did it. Got to
Mm.
go the distance, you got to go the distance for sure.
Well, yeah. And if you put everything you have into it,
Hmm.
you can at least hold your head up,
You
right?
can.
However the cookie crumbles, man, you can hold your head up and was like, yo, I bled for this shit.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean?
However the set floods, you can still do it.
Exactly. Exactly. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it just that's I'll never get over that, the whole set flooding. But I mean, looking back now I've got stories I can tell, and I
Mm,
can pass these down. One day I'll be able to say, if you ever watch that movie, you're watching an active insurance claim happen. That's flooding during the during the production of this film. My garage is actually flooding there at the very end. But you gotta take your positives. It could be bad. Things are not good, but you gotta. I always say, look, you gotta try to look at the sunny side of things. Like I said, now it's a funny story. At the time, it wasn't too funny, but
yeah.
ultimately, you know, it's just I had a really good crew. So definitely to people who want to do things, about making movies and stuff like that, you got to have a good crew. You got to pick out people you can trust and who are going to toe that line with you.
Mm. So, what is that process like? Right? Finding your crew, finding your cast, right? Finding the right people that you're able to rely on to be able to do all of this.
Well, I've worked with some of these individuals before. Some of them I had never worked with, and honestly, it was all about making smart decisions. It was all about looking at their work, meeting these people and talking to them, on kind of a ground level, not so much being asking them about their work, but just also, just surrounding yourself with good humans, good
Mm,
people and good human beings, and like I said, some of these people were theater actors and I'd seen them in a few plays. Some of these people I'd never worked with them before, but we'd had roundabout connections for a long time. And now I've made lifelong friendships that, I'll never lose. And Even, a large majority of the cast that worked on Soul's Chapel have come back to work on this new project. And same with the my camera guys. So just reaching out and making smart decisions about reaching out to who you're going to have on your team. I mean, it's just like, when you're in school and you're playing kickball or something, you got to be smart about who you put on your team.
Mm,
You got to pick the people that are gonna do good, but ultimately, you can't turn anybody away too. You gotta look at who's there for you. And I think that's important in life, not just in your career, but just in general. Just look out and try to find people that are there to support you. So it all worked out pretty well, for me as far as that process goes. I guess I got really lucky. I would say I've just been extremely lucky in this business. I've been very fortunate, to make it as far as I have, and then to also be directing as well. I mean, because when you're acting and directing in a project, I mean that can be pretty scary. So you really got to find people that you can trust and you can kind of put your full confidence in and depend
mm.
on them.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, what I mean, what was your kind of process for that? Like acting and directing?
Yeah, well, that one's a little bit interesting. I've been acting and directing for a while. Almost everything that I do now. I've been in a few other projects, but for the most part, about everything I do, I direct it as well as when I act in it,
Mm,
or I'll just direct. But acting and directing, they're two very different things. When you're an actor, you have the ability to focus on that character and bring it to life, and when you're directing, you have to focus on the scene and making it look good, what all is
yeah.
happening around you. So the process I had for that was, setting up, but also shooting the film in a way that where I wasn't always on screen. I could be absent when I needed to be and pull back. And like I said, really finding a good people that you can trust and have your best interest at heart, as well as the project. You can put a lot of trust in a good cameraman, or good assistant directors, and people that are there to kind of help you toe that line. So that was kind of the process I had, was really depending on them, but ultimately, also as a director, pulling yourself out when you don't need to necessarily be in the scene. You can pull yourself back and just kind of do what you need to do as far as directing, and sort of just give both of them your very best, whether you're putting the project together, directing it, or if you're starring in it. You gotta give both of them your very best.
Mm. Oh, for sure, for sure. With when you first started out in this, like, what was the aspiration? Like, acting, directing, writing, like, what were you kind of envisioning your path to be?
Well, I started probably at a very early age doing this stuff, and it was one of those things. I always tell people, behind any good director like Steven Spielberg or Martin Scorsese or anybody that you've ever looked at, I think that there's an element of being a child that never really grows up, because you're always, like me, for instance, as a director. When I first started, is I guess I would say I've kind of always been a director in my sense, in my eyes.
Mm,
Because even as a child, I would daydream. I would always have these scenarios playing out in my head. I would always want to pretend. I would always want to just have these things going on inside my mind. And as I got older, I was like, I want to try to bring these stories and these visions I have in my head, I want to bring those to life. And I was actually a very shy kid. I didn't volunteer to do acting or theater or anything like that in school, even though I wanted to. I mean, a part of me wanted to. I was always too afraid to do it. I was always too shy. I couldn't get up in front of people. It was always scary. Now it doesn't bother me as much, but I do still get a little nervous. But mostly what I wanted to do was, I thought, I have a duty to myself, to become a director, to tell the stories and the visions that I have in my mind, and give those to other people, because that's what entertainers do. It's
mm,
it's about entertaining people and bringing a story to life and bringing something to life. So that's kind of how I started down that path. And honestly, I mean, I remember being in middle school, and I would have all the neighborhood kids come over, in the backyard, be like, "Hey, I just need you to do this on the camera, and I'll buy you a slice of pizza," and that was kind of just how it started. It unraveled slowly. But it was all about just building those little things as when you're a kid, and it just kind of stuck with me, and I just decided I wanted to pursue it professionally, and that's just kind of what I did. I just followed that passion most of my life.
Right. Right. So yeah, it's always been there, man.
Yeah,
Like,
I guess it kind of always has. The more I think about it, it wasn't just woke up one day and was like, oh, I think I'm going to be a professional actor. It was like, no, it was always just one of those. Yeah, it was always just kind of stirring, especially as a child. You grow up in places where your imagination is too big for that place, and if
mm,
you had a big imagination, like I did as a kid, you just kind of make it happen. You find whatever you can, and you just make it happen.
yeah. What were the type of stories that kind of interested you, that really kind of sparked your interest and drove the imagination? Was there a
Well,
specific genre that you enjoyed?
I remember being a very young child and watching westerns with my granddad, and then I remember, as I got older, I grew up on, the original, all those Hollywood heroes. Like I remember watching Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, all those guys that were
Yeah.
larger than life, and that's what I wanted to be when I was a kid, because I was kind of a runt, and I was always fairly tall, but I was a 90 pound soaking wet little runt running around, and I played sports. I enjoyed playing sports, but eventually it got to be where I just didn't really fit in anywhere, and I was
Yeah.
always kind of alone. I moved around a lot as a kid. With my family, we were always moving around a lot, and there's something different about being alone. You just sort of kind of get into your own inner shell, and when you become in that own inner shell of yourself, you kind of become, I don't want to say your own best friend, but you start creating more and more scenarios in your head. More and more of those little things just start coming to life, and it blossoms from there. And like I said, it just kind of takes place at a point to where you feel like you have that destiny that you've got to go after something, and you've kind of got to
Mm,
change it. But I remember watching like Indiana Jones, things like that as a kid. All those guys. That's who I didn't want to just watch them. I wanted to be those people
yeah.
when I was
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
kid. I
Yeah.
was like, that's what I wanted to be. Everything I seen on TV. I remember I found a news clipping several years ago from when I was in kindergarten, and everyone said we want to be firefighters, this, that, and I think mine, it gets to me and it says Jake wants to be a scientist because the Hulk is a scientist or something like that. It was always stuff like that. So those things are what interested me. Just those larger than life heroes that I grew up with, and kind of grafting all of those things to come to life.
Oh man, yeah. When you're young, you absorb so many different things, right? And
Absolutely.
so many things spark your interest. Yeah, I remember watching like Indiana Jones and wanting to be an archaeologist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I realized I can't my eyesight is fucked. You know what I mean? So being
Yeah.
able
Yeah.
to see the difference in rock just ain't happening, right? Like, you know what I mean? Just being able to see those things was never it was never gonna work. So it was just like, okay, I'm not gonna be an archaeologist.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So then it's just like, what else can I be? And I remember because I love Mo Better Blues, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
yo, yeah, I want to be a trumpet player.
I think that's what everybody thinks. And that was a lot how I was. When I seen it on TV, I had to become it. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just be an actor and then I can just become everything that I want to be like that. And then I was like, you know what? I think I got it. Then I can become all of those things instead of trying to be an astronaut, an archaeologist, a scientist, a trumpet player, a guitar player, a time traveler. I can just be an actor and be all of them. So it just kind of worked out.
I know because when reality hits you and you're like, ah, fuck, I can't do that. Okay,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
next? what am I gonna do next? Okay, all right, I can't do that. All right, next. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And you're just trying to figure out, where do I fit in with all of
absolutely.
this? But it's just like I think creativity, you know what I mean? When you're able to stretch those muscles, right, that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
That's something that can really just light up a room, can, you know what I mean, really drive a friend group, right? That person
Yeah.
that's always
Oh
got
yeah.
ideas and creating and boom, right? It just does so much.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You're not wrong about any of that.
So were there any particular filmmakers who you were just like, man, I love that person's stuff?
You know, I really really enjoyed a lot of the more of the stories and stuff that I enjoyed telling. But as I got older, I really found that I really enjoyed the suspense genre. I enjoyed learning how to make these little stories that would make people stay interested, make them stay plugged
Yeah.
in, to make the people feel like that they are living that for real and that they're on the edge of something. So learning suspense, I really took a lot of inspiration from people like Alfred Hitchcock, Mike
Mm,
Flanagan. He's one of my favorite directors of modern day. I believe he's made a lot of modern day classics, but I really have taken a lot of inspiration from him. And then when you go back to like some of the older generations and stuff, like in the Eastwoods, I've kind of learned a lot from watching films like that. And just the things that I really picked up on were just different styles and ways to tell stories. So yeah, I've studied a lot of different directors and a lot of different styles and how you can kind of craft your margin. But honestly, I believe that the best form of directing has always got to be the experience, just getting out there and learning those little
mm.
tricks and those tips and knowing what you want to see.
Oh yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Because on paper, you know what I mean? It's easy
Mhm.
to be impressive on paper, but can you actually put that shit into practice?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the big thing,
You can
right?
storyboard all you want, man, and it'll help get you there, but you still got to make it happen. It looks
Oh,
good. It might
yeah.
look good here, but sometimes you get there and you're like, it's not exactly what I was feeling. So
Yeah, there's those people that talk a good game, right?
yeah,
They
and
can
sometimes hell, sometimes it even works out better than what you originally thought. You get looking at it, you're like, what, I actually like that better. Let's just go with that. So
mm,
it's all about making the best of what you got.
yeah, but I think it's also being open to the possibility.
Oh
Because
yeah,
as you say, you can have the idea for a shot, but that might not work.
right,
But then
exactly.
you're able to find something that works even better. I
Yeah,
remember I was talking to a really talented filmmaker, Oriana Eng, and her short, it was oh shit, I always get this mixed up. It was the title's in French, and it translates for waltz for free. Um, but there was this part in the film where the woman dances with this guy she's hired, and they wanted to kind of show that she's never danced with anyone other than her husband,
hmm,
right? So this is like gonna invoke all of this emotion and feeling, and they weren't, the shot she was trying to get just wasn't working. And so what they did was the I think she said it was her cinematographer kind of came up with this idea. And so when you first see them dancing, it's through a reflection from a mirror.
yeah,
And it's such an incredible shot.
yeah. Smart,
It
very
it
smart.
it works so well. Um, you know what I mean? It just really invokes all these emotions and everything. And it's just like that happened
Yeah,
because the original idea wasn't working, and then they found that, which,
absolutely. Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like when you hear the original idea probably would have been good, but this was so much better.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing you run into a lot with filmmaking. Sometimes you have a good idea, but then you see it in real time. You're like, oh, this is so much better. It's so much
Mm,
better. And then it just turns out better than you ever could have thought. And then, hell, sometimes it goes the other way. But it's all about working with what you got. And I think the
yeah,
more that you do things, the more that you craft the more that you craft your skill, the easier that those little things become because you kind of already have an idea of how to make it work.
definitely. Definitely. I think that's the thing. It's reps, man.
Yeah.
It's just, you know what I mean? Just keeping doing the thing.
Right
You
on.
know,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of first time, one time, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
filmmakers,
yeah, a lot of
right?
that, whole lot
Because
of that going on these
oh
days.
yeah, because it was such a, a slog
Yeah,
making that first one. They're just, I don't want to do that again.
yeah,
That's
absolutely,
too much. Like trying
absolutely.
to get the financing, trying to get the location, getting
Yeah, yeah,
working with all the actors, getting this.
right,
Oh,
yeah,
it's just too hard. I don't want to do that again. You
right,
know what I mean?
right. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you got to stick with it. It's definitely it's a chore. I don't think it's fun if you like it, but it's also, I mean, it's still work. It's
Yeah.
always a lot of work. So I mean, it just depends on, I guess, how much you like it.
Yeah. But what I think is though, the things that you love to do, right? It's always hard work, right? But to you, it's easy at times, right? When someone talks to you about filmmaking, like you probably aren't going to be like, oh boy, I just want to quit. It's so hard. Like it's just
Yeah.
like no, you're excited. Like just
Hmm.
talking to you now, like you can see the energy, right? The enthusiasm,
Yeah,
even though you're
yeah,
working in a flooded set, right? Even though you lose a location 3 days
yeah,
before the fucking shoot,
yeah,
right? It's like all of
yeah,
these
yeah,
things
yeah.
happen, but it's still not gonna take away your love and passion for the thing.
I think
And that's what
everybody,
drives the
yeah,
force.
yeah, I think everyone has a talent, and I think that you have to discover what that is. And when you discover what you're good at, I feel like you love it because you know it's something you're good at and it's just a passion you have. And I think everyone should always attempt to discover what they're best at.
Mm.
For me, it's movies and making stories and telling stories and just creativity and visual photography things and just making art through crafting stuff. But for some people it's different things, and I think everybody just kind of has to, just you got to kind of find that groove and find that niche and whatever it is you do in life.
Yeah, but I think people can get trapped. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh
Because it's
yeah.
just like, you say, "Oh, I want to do this," and people would be like, "Oh, shut up! You're not gonna
Yeah.
do that."
Yeah.
And so it's just like, "Oh, I better find something." What's everyone else? Oh, they're being accountants. They're being, yeah. I should probably do that, right? And
Yeah.
so you know what I mean? It's sometimes it's the fear of breaking away from the herd, right?
Right. Yeah.
Doing
Oh
something
yeah.
different. And it's just like, oh, everyone's going to look at me and think, oh, why are they doing that? Right. So it's finding the confidence to go, no, this is my path. This is what
Right.
I want to do. This is
That's
what I
right.
want to try, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, you just gotta do it, man. Just do it.
Yeah. And it doesn't, you know what I mean? I think also it's just like people want that thing that makes them a bare load of money real
Yeah.
quick. And sometimes the things you love, they're not going to make you money right away,
No,
you
no,
know?
you might get lucky and figure out how to make some money, and if you stick with it, I feel like you will. But man, getting there, you gotta love it.
Yeah.
You gotta. It's just like a baby. You gotta nurture that thing to maturity. So I mean, you definitely you gotta just take it a little bit. Unless you're just really lucky. I mean, you really gotta craft everything as you do it.
I know. You can't get a wet nurse for filmmaking.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that just don't work, man. That just don't work. That don't work. Yeah, you might be able to you might be able to hire some people that know what they're doing, but I mean, yeah, I mean it's if you're looking to get rich, filmmaking ain't it.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it not straight away.
Not
right?
straight
But
away. Not straight
that's
away. You can
yeah,
you can make money in it, but it's one of those things. Before that comes, learn your craft.
yeah.
Definitely learn your craft, and that's the best advice I can give anybody.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, were you one to kind of go to filmmaking, like director talks, and I mean, all of these kind of inside the Actors Guild, and like,
Yeah.
do you pay attention to that kind of thing, or do you just go, you know what, I'm just gonna find my way, right? Talk
Mhm.
to other kind of more like indie directors and work out
Well, see,
from
I've
that.
done both. I've worked in the bigger scale, but I've also learned that doing the indie thing, you have way more creative freedom, and you get to do what you want to do. And I think that's a good thing. So I've definitely slacked off of being, so much looking towards the bigger scale of stuff, and just looking more towards the indie stuff, because I think indie films they're slowly replacing a lot of the bigger stuff. Even Hollywood themselves are starting to go more towards releasing independent films, just because the stories are fresher, the ideas are better, dare I say, and I think that indie films are, it's all about supporting other people, and there's, like I said, I can't remember the last time I've seen a good movie produced by Hollywood, but man, some of these indie films, or these guys that started out pretty low, I really enjoy a lot of things that are released by people like that.
Oh, definitely. I think it was either last year or the year before. I was so disappointed by a lot of the big studio films, and I was
Mhm.
thinking some of the best films I've seen this year have been indie films and shorts.
Right.
You know what I mean? It feels like
Absolutely. Yeah.
there were all these big films, all these tent poles, sequels that you're kind of like, oh, that could be good, and then you watch it and you're like, oh,
Yeah. That
that
was.
that that just dropped the ball.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's always a really bad feeling. It is, because you expect something and it just nah. But like I said, indie films they're kind of where it's at now, man.
Well, I think because like everyone wants to be more economic with their budgets, right? Because at the beginning, Netflix were throwing out silly money on
Yeah.
films. So they're kind of going, okay, we gotta be a bit better with this shit. So
Yeah.
they're trying to bring their budgets down, right? Other
Oh yeah.
studios, because they're merging, and staff are getting laid off. So they're trying to bring the budgets down on films. So it's just like,
Mhm.
if you can have a skill about making a great story with a low budget, shit's gonna open up for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's getting interesting, man. It's definitely getting interesting.
Oh yeah.
So, like, after this one, and you said you've got this project you're working on at the moment. Like, is it gonna be a similar genre?
No. No. Other than it being a suspense thriller, no, not similar in the genre at all. I like to. I like to do a lot of different films, and I try to break up a little bit of stuff, but I
Mm.
definitely think that genre of Souls Chapel might be worth revisiting at some later point in time.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can mess around in it, right? Like, I
Yeah,
mean, George R. Martin has the wild card universe,
yeah,
right? Which are kind of a load of different type of books in the
right,
same
yeah,
world. So, you know what I mean? You can, do something like that,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is there something like a type of story that you've always wanted to tell that you haven't had a chance to yet? Like a genre that you'd like to kind of mess with or
I've
something?
got a few stories, nothing in a specific genre. I've completed a lot of things that I've wanted to tell, and I've been very fortunate to do that. And I've even got to be in stuff that wasn't my own, that was genres that I never thought, that I always liked doing, and then I
Mm,
learned, doing them in film so much. I've learned how much I didn't really care for it.
yeah.
For instance, I'll say comic book and superhero stuff. I've done some stuff like that, some stuff that's not even out yet that I can't even talk about, and I've learned that. slowly, I always grew up watching stuff like that, like Batman and stuff like that. That's my jam, and then
Mm.
doing it in real life, when you look around and eh, you're standing in the middle of a field, and there's a guy over there that's holding a sword as big as my house, and another guy in this orange armor, and I mean, the dude with the big fist and turquoise suit. And I look down, I'm wearing purple pants. I'm just like, man, what the hell am I doing with my life? So you learn as you dabble in stuff. You dabble in stuff. You're just like, what the hell am I doing with my life? So it definitely it's all a learning curve. But no, there's nothing in that's specific. I've not gotten the chance to do yet. But I'm sure it's coming. And when the time comes, I'll definitely give it my best gander at it.
Oh man, awesome, awesome. Well, how can people check out Soul's Chapel?
Yeah, you could. Right now, I believe anyone can search Souls Chapel on Google and you'll find it. You punch it into your basic search engine. We've got articles on Bloody Disgusting. We've got stuff all over YouTube. If you're looking for a good streaming platform, I would recommend going to Amazon Prime, or you can go to Fandango, or you can check it out on like Apple or Google Play, things like that. And it's also available on DVD. Most major retailers, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, most of those. So definitely, if you're looking for a good indie thriller watch, I would definitely recommend checking it out. And of course, I always appreciate everyone's feedback, and I appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day to watch my little projects, and hopefully you enjoy it.
Fantastic. With the DVD, do
Hmm.
you have extra features? Do you have a, commentary track? Anything like that?
Um, Myself, no, I'm not the DVD. I don't really have a lot of say over the DVD manufacturing. So they don't really let me put a lot of my 2 cents in. However, if you go on YouTube and you search up our channel, or look up, go to mtspicturesnews.com, all those things where you can find me, or on my Instagram, Jake C Young official. You can find various things that I've done behind the scenes, or exploring. And I even interviewed a few paranormal investigators about the real Souls Chapel, and a few of these little commentative things that I think people would be very interested in seeing some of the local lore about it, and seeing how we were able to bring that on screen.
Mm. No, that sounds great. So that will be on your Instagram or YouTube.
Instagram, YouTube, pretty much any social platform. You can search my name, Jake C Young, or look me up at Jake C Young _ official, or you can type in Jake Eastwood, and occasionally it'll pop up. You can go to IMDb. You can pretty much look me up on any search engine, and you'll find where you're trying to go.
Outstanding. Okay. Well, people, we will put all the links on the webpage for this episode so you can check out Soul's Chapel and then go and check out all of this behind the scenes information, do the interviews and all of that stuff. I mean, that sounds great. That sounds like, you know what I mean? Because I think that's the thing. I think, digital is great, right? Having
Mhm.
being able to access things and all of that is awesome, but we miss out on the BTS stuff that
Right,
you would
right.
often find
Absolutely.
on a video and a DVD, right? So
Hey man, physical media. That's where it's at, and that's
yeah.
another thing, as a film collector, physical media is very important to me. So, if
Mm,
you're a physical media collector, I definitely advise you to do that, because you can get a lot of really cool, behind the scenes features and things that you otherwise wouldn't have even known about. So definitely, if
exactly.
you got the chance, always buy physical media.
Mm. Oh, for sure, for sure. Okay, so yes, you can get it the digital Souls Chapel or the DVD. So yeah, people make the right choice with that. And when might we, what I mean, eventually see the new joint, Jake?
The new project. Well, I don't know. We're a good 8 months from now. Just and that's a safe bet. A good 8 months for the
Okay.
newest project. But I think whenever people see the newest one, and if you follow my stuff, you'll be able to kind of track the updates. I'm always putting stuff online, and be able to keep up with the various cast members and things like that.
Tremendous. Well, that's another reason to go follow Jake, right? So, I mean, once you finish listening to this, go follow Jake, and then you'll be able to check out all of the stuff he's doing, done, you know what I mean, has floating around in his mind, right? You'll be able to follow all of that shit. So,
It's a
yeah.
scary place, so just enter at your own risk.
Well, Jake, thank you so much for stopping by and talking, Soul's Chapel and filmmaking just in general. It's been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me. Greatly appreciate it.
Hey, no worries at all, man. No worries at all. Well, yeah, I'm definitely gonna go check out some of this BTS stuff. So yeah, thanks for you know what I mean, putting me onto that and everyone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man. Anybody who gets a chance to watch the film, we do admire reviews. IMDb, Google, and if they're bad, go find another movie to put it under. You can put it under one of my last ones, but we do admire your feedback. Even the not so good ones. It does help me and the crew. And generally, I truly enjoy listening to what people think about it. What you liked about it, what you didn't, and I think there's a lot to be learned from your audience. So yeah, definitely leave a review if you get the chance to watch it.
Mm, awesome. Well, we look forward to the next one, Jake. So yeah, hopefully no more flooding, no more big issues. You know what I mean?
Well, we'll see. We'll see for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, man. Well, once again, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Everyone, go check out Jake C. Young and Soul's Chapel. Enjoy the rest of your day, man.
See you, mate.